you can't let those who hate us define us. We must define who we are ourselves. And I think that's the moment that we are in today.
But it was after October 7th when I saw it blatant, the anti-Semitism, I was like, wait a minute, there's a bias here that we weren't allowed to have back in the day.
Welcome to Federation CJ's 360 podcast, the pulse of Montreal's Jewish community.
This is episode 48, recorded in Studio 5 on September the 11th, 2025. I'm Glenn J. Nashin.
And I'm Paula Samuel. In this episode, CJA 25, the annual campaign kicks off, and it's up to us. We spoke to General Campaign Chair Heather Adelson at the campaign kickoff last week. We'll have that report for you. We'll also bring you a frontline report on the Shuk and all the exciting stuff that happened at the campaign launch itself. Plus, I had a one-on-one interview with Israeli pop star Ishai Ribo, and we'll talk to you about a beautiful, incredible, breathtaking drone show.
We'll hear from our roving reporters Jordan Stupler and Dan Laxer about the latest developments on the anti-Semitic attacks here in Montreal, as well as the appalling front cover of the Concordia Student Union Handbook. And you remember Leslie Roberts way back from CFCF Montreal. He has stood out recently as a sensational ally of the Montreal Jewish community. We've invited him into studio today to discuss his advocacy efforts. And we'll also bring you a couple other frontline reports, one of them on IVOW, Israel Victims of War, and we'll have a hot topic segment where we'll discuss anti-Semitism on Montreal University campuses.
And one more thing with Yair, and it all begins after this.
Paula, what a summer it has been. Let's go back to the point where you got back from your harrowing tale of escape during the war in Israel.
Yeah, it was an amazing evacuation through Cyprus, and that was what we thought things were gonna get calmer, but things just got more and more exciting this summer. It's been a jam-packed summer.
It has been. Well, things were calmer here in Montreal, and speaking of Montreal, let's go a little bit north of Montreal because there was an incredible activities that took place called Shabbat, where
I just want to say I just so love that name.
It's
the best
great
name.
on several lakes in the Laurentians, perhaps elsewhere, and so typically Quebecois and Canadians to celebrate Shabbat on a lake in the Laurentians. On my lake in Lantier, there were 20, 30 boats that got together. Shout out to Lawrence Paperman. He organized this every weekend.
Spectacular.
On one particular weekend, he invited the rabbi from St. Agath. They were tossing challahs onto the boats. There were 20, 25 boats. Over 100 people were there.
Wow.
But on
do you actually get a piece of challah? Sorry,
one of the challahs went into the lake, but I caught one. It was delicious. And most importantly, on 3 occasions, our president and CEO, Yair Slack, and our campaign chair, Heather Adelson, got a chance and were invited to Shabbat. They came to our lake in Lantier, and they spoke. And they spoke about the importance of the campaign, of Federation, of the work we do. And what a great way to meet people where they are, in their comfort zone.
And everyone's just like ready to receive information.
They're ready to receive because they're on their boats.
Out and having fun with your family.
But it's community. Yeah. It's Shabbat, it's community, and it was just so well received. Yair and Heather did this in Lantier. They did this on Lac des Sables in St. Agath. They went to Lac Manitou in Ivry. I saw the clips on social media from the other lakes. Just a brilliant idea. I can't wait to see what Lawrence organizes for next year, and Howard in Ivry and others who organize it throughout.
So cool. And the fact that you, even when the challah fell in the lake, you got a piece of challah.
Even so. That was great. And now in the city, Federation convenes Shabbat in the Park. And that happened, that's through Federation CJ's Gen MTL. It happened in Hampstead. It took place in the West Island and Westmount and brought together hundreds of families that came together during
Also
Shabbat, celebrate Shabbat in the park with kids, with grape juice, with challah.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful community event. There was face painting, there was arts and crafts, music, and all kinds of stuff.
And
for
it's
family.
so cool because all of these just make Shabbat lighter. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like some people think of, we got to do this and it has to be so serious, but it just makes it lighter. Like you're face painting, you're having fun, and you're celebrating Shabbat.
Absolutely.
You know?
And not everyone does celebrate
exactly.
Shabbat.
It's just an easy way to do it.
There's so our community is so multitude.
Yeah.
They're ardent shul goers, and they're the ones that hardly ever go to shul, but they show up to some of these events, and it makes our community, and it makes our culture, our religion, everything so accessible and so inclusive, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and it opens up doors to people who would hesitate to going into a synagogue. They're like, oh, it's at the park or it's on a boat. I'll do it. So I think it's
Terrific.
It's so fantastic.
And at Shabbat in the Park, they celebrated the 500,000th book delivered through PJ Library, a great
That's
initiative
right.
through Federation CJ.
And I did a story about that last month. It was so fun. All the books
Amazing.
and all the cute books.
Going on
the
since
thing.
2009, so
I know.
500,000 books.
Half a million.
Half a million. Distributed to little kids.
Yeah.
And all the information's on our website at federationcj.org.
And did you know I didn't know what PJ stood for? I was like, what does PJ stand for? Do you
I
know?
thought it was pajamas.
It is. I thought there's got to be something more. But they're like, no, it's pajamas. And I'm like, oh yeah, because you read your bedtime books in your pajamas. I think it's awesome.
Tell us about Hillel. What's going on campus? Hillel, back to school.
Well, listen, it's back to school, and back to school means a lot of...
the heat is being turned
the
up.
heat, that's the word.
We're going to talk about it in this episode.
We will be talking about it. And it's also back to school. That's back to school Hillel-wise, but it's also back to school for all the kids and all the Jewish day schools, and that's exciting.
And there's a
That's
lot
an
of
exciting
good news
moment.
coming out of Hillel, too, with new leadership, new direction. We're going to talk about that on the next episode, so stay tuned for that. We've got our volunteers, CSN volunteers, Community Security Network volunteers. There's hundreds of them. They do amazing work. They are literally our protectors. They stand around at Jewish day schools, at the synagogues.
And you don't know they're there.
You don't know they're there. They're at events.
That's what's amazing about it, right? People are like, what do you mean? Where's the security? And you don't know.
And they're looking for more volunteers. All that information's on our website if somebody wants to sign up and become
Super
a
important
protector.
work.
Absolutely.
Super important work. Yeah.
Camp Shor Esh took place last week
At B'nai B'rith.
at B'nai B'rith.
Yeah.
Over 180 young
I think young adults,
21 to 28-ish.
Yeah, some of them who have been on Birthright, some of them, they're a bit from a little bit all over the place. And I think it was from what I hear, it was a huge, huge success.
Again, and similar to Shabbat in the Park and whatnot, it makes the community accessible to those who aren't necessarily participating on a regular basis, new students on college campuses, CJEP and universities. So a big shout out to all those that organized Shor Esh up at Camp B'nai B'rith of Montreal.
And you know what's really cool about that stuff? Like similar to trips that you take, because you've taken a lot of trips, organized trips to Israel and stuff. You just get so much closer to people when you're in a particular area together for a certain amount of time.
Absolutely. Well, that's true of Jewish sleepaway camp, and it's true of missions to Israel.
Yeah, that's right.
And
it's true of evacuations.
When you're on that ship together and you're getting out and the drone is flying over,
that's right.
it forms bonds and relationships and friendships.
All joking aside, it really does.
That really lasts a lifetime. And I can look back at this point in my life and say, oh my God, I went with that person to Israel decades ago, and there's a common bond. Some were really good friends, and others there's a familiarity where you feel very comfortable to engage, to talk to the person, to keep in touch, and through social media, and that's marvelous. Pro Montreal Entrepreneurs Fall Funding is coming up right now as well. The Federation CJ Pro Montreal Entrepreneurs is a mentor-driven accelerator program, and it helps early-stage startups and entrepreneurs to build and to strengthen their business plans, their business development, and their roots here in Montreal. And the exciting part is that the PME is offering grants up to $75,000 in funding to help young entrepreneurs get their businesses off the ground. And it also connects them with angel investors, VCs, senior executives through mentorship and coaching programs. So this is your chance for the fall funding program, which applications are open until October the 20th. It's a chance to get involved, get informed, and get money. So if you're a young entrepreneur,
so important, right? It's like when you're that entrepreneur and you just need those funds to know that it's there. It's there for you to go and apply for it. And I think that's
visit
fantastic.
federationcj.org if you're a budding young entrepreneur, and tune in to their podcast. Catherine Korakakis and Dan Laxer have started a great podcast through Pro Montreal Entrepreneurs. Just Google it or check it out on your favorite podcast app and hit the subscribe, just like you've hit the subscribe to this podcast.
There we go.
Right?
There we go. We have a lot of
Women's Philanthropy. What's the latest?
So, Glenn, it's exciting new appointments for this new year, this new September. Cheryl Brownstein is assuming the role of president of the Women's president of Women's Philanthropy for a 1-year term, and Meg Benarosh Garfield will be wearing 2 hats this time around, continuing her role as the campaign chair for Women's Philanthropy and stepping into the position of vice president. So there's a lot of changes and a lot of exciting new things that are coming this year. So great news.
To round off this part, you attended a Jewish War Memorial ceremony.
It was really moving. Not only did I attend it, but I emceed it. And it was really, really moving to see all the veterans there and to see the current people who are in the Canadian Armed Forces. And it just we have a couple of things that we'll be showing through later on in the podcast. But it was a wonderful event, and it really is. It was an honor to MC it and to honor the Jewish Jewish members of the Canadian Armed Forces that fought since the Second World War. And so it was wonderful.
We're going to take a look at that clip right now.
Here we go.
There was a terrible evil threatening the world in World War II. There was terrible tyranny and fascism that triggered the worst barbarism in world history. And good countries and good people assembled together to fight that evil. And because of that, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people lived freer lives in Europe and around the world.
The 2025 Combined Jewish Appeal, CJA 25 campaign recently kicked off in a giant tent in Hampstead Park with some 6,000 people in attendance. We met up with the General Campaign Chair, Heather Adelson, at the event. Let's listen in to what she had to say.
We're here with Heather Adelson at the campaign opening 2025. You're the General Campaign Chair. Tell us about it, Heather.
Oh my gosh, a new Yair. Take a look. It's up to us. It's actually up to you, and together it's up to us, and we're going to make change, positive change. We have an opportunity now to make a difference in this world. We're bringing community together. Boom, let's do it.
Now, Heather, you've been involved, as we said, for years. You've been to campaign launches through the years. This is completely unique, as Paula said. How does it feel to you to be leading out on something so incredibly different in 2025?
This is what we should be doing. We should be appealing to what today is. This is what we need today, and we should go forward with what our community needs through the years. And we're doing it.
And we had a massive, massive successful campaign last year. What are we hoping for this year?
Oh my gosh. So last year was a success because we brought community together. We raised a lot of money. We're here and we're bringing everybody together. We're all on the same page. We're Jews, different. We have different values. The one thing we have in common, we're Jewish.
So you're
celebrate that.
You're talking about needs. Tell us a bit more, go in depth a little bit more about the top needs that exist in Montreal right now.
Oh, there's so many needs. We have people who are living below the poverty line, which is better than what it was 30 years ago, but it's not zero. We are helping kids who have issues, so mental illness. Everything that we're doing, we're changing the world in a positive way. We have leadership for young people so that we're building our succession. We're thinking of the entire circle.
So speaking of succession, you're talking about younger people, you're talking about students. There's great needs there when it comes to campus. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I can tell you that I was lucky enough to chair the March of the Living this year, 2025. And we were bombed at the airport in Ben Gurion while we were there the last day trying to get out. And everybody felt it. And so to be able to come back here and be grateful. And these kids are now going into a program. They have the opportunity for a leadership mentorship program because they feel it. It's mind, body, soul.
What is, to wrap it up, what's the one message that you want to tell to people? Because there's a lot of people, so I'm one of those people that's really I didn't go through Jewish school, I didn't go to Jewish camp, but I'm really proudly Jewish. And so coming into this is you feel a little hesitant, you feel a little bit on the outside. How do we bring those people in? What's your message to them?
It's up to them. We're here, we're open arms. Can't get more open than this. Everybody needs to be here. You're here. Why are you here? Doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter where you started. It matters how we're going to end this. We're going to end it by showing everybody else the Jewish community, no matter where you come from, we come together to be strong.
So, in wrapping it up, Heather, we've got a couple of months ahead of us for the campaign. What are some of the things you're looking forward to as we look at the next 2 months?
Raising money!
Raising money.
Come
How about
on!
some of the bigger events that are going on, some of the activities.
You know what it's all about? Standing up for being Jewish and attending.
So our listeners and viewers can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, anywhere on socials, and of course on YouTube and on our podcast. So we hope everyone will tune in.
Tune in.
Stay tuned.
By
Follow
the way,
us.
why tune in? Because it's up to us.
It's up to us.
So if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
There you go.
It's us.
Heather, congrats and thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You got it. So let's sign off on the iconic Heather chant. It goes.
It's up to us. Oh, woohoo! Ah, woohoo!
Paula, we were at Hampstead Park most recently for the campaign kickoff of CJ25, an amazing, epic event, 6,000 people. You produced a report on that.
Yeah, there was so much to talk about and so much to see. Take a look.
As the hot sun poured down on the pop-up shuk, it felt like we'd been transported straight to Israel. Walking in, you were welcomed with all the sights, sounds, and smells of an Israeli market. One, two, three. Federation CJA 25's campaign cabinet, decked out in their It's Up to Us hockey jerseys, dropped the puck on a brand new season of giving. The campaign's mission, raising money to, in part, help feed families, support the vulnerable, strengthen Jewish identity, and fight anti-Semitism, joining thousands who care deeply about making a lasting difference. Israeli pop star Ishai Ribo was the main attraction of the night, and he came carrying a strong message to our community.
Là, je pense que c'est quelque chose qu'il faut faire plus pour donner aux gens le sentiment qu'ils sont pas seuls et que tous ils sont ensemble pour passer bien cette période et pour penser aussi pour Eretz Israël.
Federation CJA campaign launch is coming to a close tonight with this incredible concert by Ishai Ribo. More than 5,000 people have come through here since 4:30 this afternoon. It's been an incredible success, and it really has brought the community closer together, celebrating being Jewish. The evening wrapped up with a breathtaking drone show that left us speechless, reminding us all that it's indeed up to us. C'est à nous d'agir. For Federation CJA, I'm Paula Samuel at Hampstead Park.
Jordan Stupler is our regular reporter here at Federation CJA. He joins us now in studio. Jordan, welcome back. You're following a number of stories. Let's start with the sports stories that we've got. Anti-Semitism, anti-Israel protests going on. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I guess I have a sports journalism background, so I'm getting to put on that hat here. So I'm happy about that.
So full disclosure, you're a CP reporter, in fact, for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes, and other sports. Obviously, hockey season's coming up soon.
Right. Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Okay, tell us about the cycling and tennis.
Yeah, so this weekend is actually this past weekend's actually been a busy weekend. You know, we have locally the North American professional cycling race. It's the only race in North America on that circuit. So there's a race that was on Friday in Quebec City, another one Sunday in Montreal, and there have been calls repeatedly for this Israeli cycling team. They're known as Israel Premier Tech. They're actually co-owned by Canadian-Israeli philanthropist, avid cyclist himself, Sylvan Adams. Montrealer. So he co-owns the team. And there have been calls, of course, to exclude this Israel Premier Tech from competing in both races. There was a letter that was signed by lawyers from a group called Palestinian and Jewish Unity, PAJU for short, that was directed to Mayor Valérie Plante. In it, the group says it would, quote, be highly harmful and inexplicable for Israel Premier Tech to compete in this publicly funded event. And they also argue that the inclusion of this professional cycling team in the race exposes the city to, again, quote, a real risk of complicity and whitewashing of crimes through sport. Now, Israel Premier Tech, it's obviously not the first time that they've had to deal with this. Just recently, in the past few weeks, there was this cycling race in Spain, and they faced the backlash there too, calling for them to be removed. So much so, they actually had to rebrand their uniforms to take out any kind of mention of Israel Premier Tech.
This was in Spain. This was in Spain.
And I imagine that it's going to be the case this as well, where it's like a monogrammed kit that doesn't overtly highlight the name of the team. So kind of so that they're, I guess when they're cycling by, you have fans in attendance.
It's also safety precautions for them.
They're
right?
not
just
exactly
giving in
visible
those
to the public eye. You don't know, because it's important to mention this Israel Premier Tech team, while they are branded as Israel, a vast majority of these athletes that compete for this team, they're Canadians, they're Quebecers.
Right.
They're not even tied to Israel at all, other than the fact that they're representing this team.
Okay, so that's one controversy, and the other controversy is tennis. Now, it's not so much how people are complaining about it, but how the organizers are reacting. And in this case, in the tennis case, it's been a very disappointing reaction.
It's been crazy, and I've been following this closely because, full disclosure, many months ago, I actually booked a trip to Halifax expressly for this tennis tournament and was looking forward to go. I'm still going. We'll get into that a bit later, but just I guess the background, right? This Davis Cup, it's a team tennis, so it's a professional tennis tie, they call it, between Canada and Israel. Took place over the weekend in Halifax, 2 days. It was supposed to be contested in front of thousands of fans. Many fans, I guess like me, were expected to travel coast to coast to coast to come support Canadian tennis. It's very, Davis Cup is very, you have fans in attendance. It's very loud. Tennis is obviously very, quiet, typically, posh sport. But in this environment, it's very, pro your country and people screaming. And it's very, it's fun in that way. That's not going to be happening at all. This, or will not have happened because was held behind closed doors. No fans. No media, for that matter, were allowed inside the Scotiabank Centre in Halifax. Tennis Canada calling it safety concerns.
This was a Tennis Canada decision.
It was a Tennis Canada decision. They say it was made in, obviously, consultation with International Tennis Federation, and obviously, security issues that were flagged, they say, by local and national security agencies. Obviously, they're not going into details. Obviously, this was also in the aftermath of a petition and protests in Halifax. 400 Canadian athletes and academics signed this petition to outright cancel the tie because of the ongoing war in the Middle East.
So this is bad enough that they're withholding the event from the fans, and it's bad enough that the athletes themselves don't get to benefit. But why pull back the media that would otherwise cover it?
It's crazy. And I was even reading that they're, as if it was not enough, these protesters, these activists have now even called on the CBC, who are, I guess, the broadcast rights holders, to not even stream it at all.
And so has the CBC. I mean, again, to me, it's not what they demand. It's what gets acquiesced. So I'm curious as to what CBC will do.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see them. Also, TVA Sports here locally in Quebec is showing it on their channels. CBC is actually just streaming it on its digital platforms, not on the main networks. But yeah, like Tennis Canada CEO Gavin Ziv, he expressed his disappointment with the news. He said the only way that it was to safeguard athletes, fans, and staff while being able to preserve the event as a whole would be to close it off to the fans. And, it's crazy. Obviously, it's made national news, as you mentioned. CIJA, our advocacy arm, they've started a whole campaign that's on the front page of their, there's a banner that appears immediately when you go on CIJA. CEO Noah Shack expressed, obviously, outrage over the decision to, quote, silence thousands of fans who simply wanted to show pride in their country and attend a sporting event. And obviously reiterate how unacceptable it is that hate, harassment, intimidation, is coming into play here when, again, it's like a sporting event that's not supposed to be political in nature. And, the campaign itself calling on government and, to uphold Canadian values, don't glorify terrorism.
It's amazing how political our sport
And those
sports has
so-called
gotten.
advocates who are upending the event, at the end of the day, their communication effort is to try and get us to talk about them. And unfortunately, that's
Right.
what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
But the
So I
end
think we
result,
should stop talking about them.
we should stop talking about the end result is that this is, an affront to the athletes who
Yeah.
spend their lives
Yes,
getting to
absolutely.
this point.
Absolutely.
Let alone the fans, such as yourself, that were going to sit in the stands.
Yeah.
And paid good money to travel to
you
get
know,
there.
and then, while yes, they're going to refund your ticket price, they're not refunding all your other expenses
Right.
associated with your travel and everything. So, but I'm trying to make the most of it. I'm going to be still going, and I'm actually going to be bringing reports back for the next edition of the podcast, visiting the Canadian Museum of Immigration. There's a lot of
In Halifax,
in
yeah.
Halifax, so
Pier
we're going to be
21.
bringing
That'll
you some
be very
reports.
interesting.
That's super
Tell us
cool.
all about Jewish Halifax.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you also covered the recent park attack in Park Extension. What
It's
have you
more.
got?
It's so the two attacks is like the suspect is been in custody for 30 days in a psychological evaluation, and I don't. When is he planning? When is the plan for him to be released and
Yeah.
have the decision?
Yeah, so this is there's two attacks. So this one is obviously the one that's
Where the
we've
Jewish man
seen
was beaten in front of his children.
children in
Yeah.
Park Extension. The 23-year-old man was charged with assault causing bodily harm. As you said, Paula, he was ordered to undergo this 30-day psychiatric evaluation. He was detained all throughout this at Pinel,
Yeah.
Philippe Pinel Institute.
He's still there.
He's still there,
Yeah.
but it's actually timing-wise, it's pretty crazy. Those 30 days end today. So he's actually today, as we
Today,
record
as
this
we're
on
recording,
September
on a
11th.
Thursday, yeah.
And he's was expected to reappear in court tomorrow, which
Okay.
is Friday, September 12th.
So we'll have a decision.
So we'll keep you posted, I guess, on what happens
Interesting to
with
keep
that now
following.
that his 30 days are up.
And there was yet another intimidation, harassment, I don't know if we call it an attack, that took place in Ville Saint Laurent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. So we saw a man utter death threats to a Jewish man in Saint Laurent last month.
That was covered widely on social media.
Yes, it was filmed. So 3 charges in this case, 2 for threats, another for harassing a woman and her family. The suspect in this case was granted a conditional release, but he's been ordered obviously to follow certain conditions while the case is still pending. This includes you can't go within a certain radius of certain areas in
Right.
Saint Laurent.
Yeah.
You can't communicate with the alleged victims, of course, or possess any weapons. And yeah, like it was very disturbing. This video made the rounds, as you said, man making threatening remarks to a group of people in the streets of Saint Laurent. And the case is scheduled to return to court next month. So again, we'll be following that closely.
Jordan, let's wrap up on a positive note. Tell us about the Pack It Up event.
Yeah, we need to end with a positive. I feel it's been very
It's been
very
pretty heavy.
Yeah,
And let's
exactly.
do something light and fun.
So yeah, Federation, CJA staff, community volunteers, they recently came together to pack backpacks filled with essential supplies for
Back to school.
children in need ahead of the back to school season. It's part of the TOV's Pack It Up initiative, and it was an incredibly successful event across the board. $12,000 was raised to be able to fill these backpacks. 700 elementary and high school students ended up receiving this. Each one was packed with care, purpose, and love by one of over 40 volunteers who came together to...
including kids. It was grandmothers, parents, and kids. Grandparents, parents, and kids. It was so sweet.
Yeah, really heartwarming to see. And obviously, it's an important thing that we do for the community. It's part of the many things that we do. There'll be the winter coats giveaway that's coming up in a couple weeks. So it's just part of the initiatives that we do to kind of help support community, those who are vulnerable, those who maybe don't have the means to buy school supplies or be well equipped for school and winter and everything that's part of life here in Montreal.
Jordan, great reports. Your journalism professors would be very proud.
Jordan Stupert, thank you so much.
Keep us posted, and looking forward to your next report on Jewish Halifax.
Yes, I'm looking forward to going. Never been, so I'm excited to kind of explore the area and learn about kind of the Jewish landscape over there.
Terrific.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
Leslie Roberts is a fourth-generation Canadian journalist whose voice has resonated across radio and television for decades. Born and raised in Montreal, Leslie began his media journey at just 18, covering the pivotal 1980 Quebec referendum. He quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a medical reporter for CTV Montreal and later anchoring major newscasts, including a 14-year tenure as anchor and senior editor at Global Toronto.
And I want to say he is also a former colleague of mine, having worked in the field in Montreal. He's currently a columnist for National Post and Montreal Gazette and a passionate advocate for truth in journalism. Leslie has emerged as a powerful voice against rising anti-Semitism in Canada and abroad. His op-eds challenge the double standards applied to Israel and call out misinformation fueling hatred. Following the October 7th Hamas attacks, Leslie traveled to Israel on a sponsored fact-finding mission, deepening his understanding of the conflict and strengthening his resolve to speak out. Leslie, welcome. So thrilled to have you in studio with us.
Welcome to the podcast.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for asking me.
So, Leslie, you have had a storied career in journalism. I remember meeting you 40 years ago. You were one of the first people that interviewed me when I ran for city council way back, advocating for paramedics in Quebec. So we go way back.
We do.
But I never knew that you had this passion for advocacy for the Jewish community. What happened?
I've always had it, but as a journalist, Paula will tell you, you are not biased. When I left my last job in traditional media at CTV in Ottawa, I started to broaden my horizons, so to speak. And so that's when you started to see it. I've known about the Jewish plight since I was a kid. I went to Wentworth for grade 6 French immersion. The minute I say that, people are like, what year? What was your teacher's name? Because it is such a small community. And I kind of joke because on Jewish holidays, I would be one of 3 non-Jews in the school, and I'd come home and say, Mom, I want to be Jewish because I want more holidays. And of course, just having friends growing up, I did Shabbat dinner, the high holidays. Because of what I do for a living, I would read from the Torah, and they always welcomed me with open arms. Personally, my sister converted. She's 10 years older.
I didn't know that.
She
wow.
did.
Okay.
It gets better. My daughter converted, and my first partner was Jewish, so we actually kept kosher, living in Hampstead for 6 years.
Wow.
Wow, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
Wow, you were kosher? Look at you.
Well, I'd say, what is it, kosher
Kosher-ish.
style? Yeah. What I mean by that is that I wanted to learn more, and out of respect for my partner's mom, we did what I would say is kosher style.
Right.
You're Jewish adjacent.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. I'd say some people say you're Jewish by choice.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, I'll take that too.
Yeah?
I'll take that too. So I think, to me, there was never a we and they. And if it was any kind of a division, it was always linguistic, not religious.
Right.
And I never knew anything other than that. Until, I guess, when you become a certain age and you start to hear stories, people who are faced with the anti-Semitism, and I still didn't understand it totally, but I figured, well, maybe they just didn't like them.
Right.
And then you go on that, the deep dive, and you start looking at the history of anti-Semitism, because to be honest, it wasn't in my world, right? And at the end of the day, I said, okay, this is wrong, and I'll call it out wherever I can.
And did you start doing that deep dive after you left journalism, and because like you said, we're so careful when we're journalists to not actually have
a bias.
Yeah, but I mean, not to show our bias.
Right.
I mean, we all have a bias, but not to
Correct.
show our bias,
Yeah.
right? And so did you stay away from that deep dive until you, purposely
No.
until you went to
No, I think
journalism?
that's what the timing was perfect, because I had this ability with a wider microphone, and I had an opportunity to go to Israel. But it was after October 7th when I saw it blatant, the anti-Semitism, and I was like, wait a minute, there's a bias here that we weren't allowed to have back in the day. It was something as simple as the introduction to a report, where they would not credit the source of the facts they were reporting.
Right.
And I was like, as a former journalist and news director at one point, I would say, well, if you can't get the lead to the story right, what's in the story? And it just got worse. And I think, people don't understand that when you quote numbers from the Gaza Health Ministry, that it's Hamas based, right?
Gaza Health Ministry.
Yeah, exactly. With quotations.
Yeah.
And I think those were the things I started to call out, because I was seeing people I respected not doing their fact checking.
Yeah, it is pretty shocking as journalists to see. Like, I am just blown away at how the media has changed. And it really
Fast.
it's so fast. And so when I see you come out and call it out,
Yeah.
it really is. It's a comfort to me because it's stronger when it's not from a Jewish voice.
And you should see the pushback.
Yeah.
People who I worked with, respected, some of whom you may have worked with too, Paula, they don't like me.
Yeah.
Because I am I won't use the terms they use, but I've been bought by Israel, for lack of a better way of doing it. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you know me. That is unfair, and maybe you should look in the mirror. An open discussion may lead to that. They're not interested.
They're not interested.
No.
Yeah.
So you've seen what happened in the media worldwide. In fact, we're talking about Montreal, Canadian, worldwide.
Yeah. Some of the most respected wire agencies.
So from a
And
wide
newspapers.
and from a wide perspective, what should journalists be doing in your mind that they're not doing?
Well, if you're going to report facts that are as important to the story as the ones they report, they need to be accredited to something. And then when you say, oh, this is the source here, and I'll give the example I gave earlier, the Gaza Health Ministry, you have to also explain what that body is for the viewer, the listener, the reader to understand. There was a time when you would do that automatically, and according to is no longer an expression we'd use all the time. Now, and this is recently, and I called this out in a National Post story recently, there was a CTV report out on Victoria Island, so Victoria, the CTV affiliate there, where the reporter was, or the anchor was reading the lead and said exactly, that genocide is happening without crediting someone who's calling it that and not giving the other side. And when you start seeing that in journalism, as someone who's been, as you said, fourth generation, makes me sound old, but growing up at my dinner table, it was all about getting it right.
Right. Accuracy.
Yeah. You have to call it out. And may the chips fall where they may, because that's what's happening. I'm in the process now where I'm getting a lot of people who are, I think the media is divided the way the world is divided.
Yes.
Would that be a safe way to call it,
Yeah,
Paula?
I think that's safe.
Yeah.
I think that's safe, but I think it's the world is divided because they're, a part of it is the social media and they don't have history, they don't have context. It's shocking when it's journalists who have no history and no context.
Yeah.
When people will do, like you said, oh, genocide. Well, it said genocide, so I'm going to, it is shocking.
But do you find that there's an uptake that people are coming around to your point of view as well? I need to check my facts better. I need to present.
I think you know the
sides.
answer to that.
Well, I do know the answer, but from your
Sadly.
perspective,
Yeah. No.
you may get hate mail. Do you get love mail?
Oh, from the Jewish community.
Oh, okay.
It's first of all, I should acknowledge that. Rarely in a time in my career has someone or a group appreciated more what I'm doing than I do right now. And I'm just reporting the story as I see it through facts. So it gives me the armor, if I could say that, to continue the fight, to question the reporting, to try and I've got the Concordia student handbook in front of me, and it was outrageous to read it, because in there, this is the student union's guide to academic life in Montreal at Concordia University specifically, and it's covered with Free Palestine, how to hold a protest, fully masked up,
how to hide your face,
how to hide your identity.
Yeah.
And this does not belong in the student handbook. Right. And when I questioned the university, all they could say to me was, we don't have the mandate or the power to address this, because in the 80s, the Quebec government passed a law that said, no, universities will not touch these organizations. At that point, I think the body was seen differently, the student union, as opposed to more radical today. And so the university washed its hands of it. And that's the kind of, if you use the term advocacy, I'd say reporting, that I do, because I think people need to see this, because I would not want to be a Jew going to Concordia.
Right.
Right. And the other thing that you're doing so well is you're calling out the hypocrisy. I mean, imagine if it had been any other minority on the cover of this. No way Concordia would have said, oh, yeah, we don't.
Douglas Murray, who I interviewed a couple nights ago, said almost the same thing. He said, do you think that white supremacists would get away with what the Free Palestine movement is? Not that he's saying it's wrong to protest in the streets and call for a Free Palestine. It's the threats. It's the intimidation. I mean, go through the list of things that where you cross the line. And he said no other group would be allowed to.
No. Can you imagine if you had that in the front of a student union book? I mean, it would be outrage immediately.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you about, so I follow you on Instagram. You know, we're old colleagues, we're friends. I love running into you on the street. But what I loved the most in the past year is watching you vicariously, living through you vicariously as you went through Israel.
Yeah.
And you took in just, you did the men dance at the wall and women, like all that stuff that you did.
That was all spontaneous, by the way.
Yes, I could tell it was spontaneous, which is why I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that it was your first time in Israel and to see, the
last.
surprise. Yeah, good. Yeah, but tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so it was organized by a man named Larry Mayer out of Toronto. He is a construction guy by day, but a concerned Jew by night. So after October 7th, he put together an organization that basically fights extremism in the West. And he wanted to bring people like myself, my brother who's editor-in-chief of the National Post, full disclosure, and other journalists and I would say citizens of concern who have a voice to Israel on a tour of the key spots that happened on October 7th. So I went to Nir Oz, the kibbutz, met a man named Shlomo, one of the founders of the kibbutz, who's trying to bring the people home. And he took us through the kibbutz, house by house, describing what happened. Meanwhile, we're standing, and as you know, under the Torah, you can farm the land right up to the border. And according to Shlomo, I hope it's right. And so we were standing there. There were farm fields. Then there was the fence. And on the other side, rubble and smoke as those on the other side continued to send rockets. And it was all happening in front of me as Shlomo was giving me the tour. And, to be honest, I was nervous about going. I'd go back in a second. Never felt unsafe there.
Right.
We checked into our hotel the first night, and the guy said, if you hear a siren, it means go down below. And no problem. I'm putting my clothes in the closet at 2 a.m, and we all had to go down. And I thought, is this a test? And I'm like, no, this is life in Israel.
Yeah.
It didn't affect the, to use a Quebec expression, the joie de vivre.
Yeah.
The resolve, the resilience. Go through them. We went to the Nova Music scene of the Nova Music Festival.
Isn't that the most touching thing? I just did that this summer.
You did, yeah. Well, just to stand there, and as you know, there are polls with pictures of all who were there, and then the stories, and to think that they were celebrating that the terrorist happened upon them by accident.
Yes.
It wasn't the plan.
Yes, no.
And they started shooting. And have you seen the video, either of you, that is 45, 50 minutes long? That is the Hamas video. So it's from body cams as well as the security cameras.
How
it's the official camera. And Israel shows it to foreign dignitaries.
Yeah.
We screened it. So I saw through this video what happened at the Nova Music Festival. And I'll just share one moment. The kids took refuge in, it's kind of emotional because it could be our kids, right?
Yeah.
In the toilets, the portable toilets. And as they're in there hiding, their cameras are rolling and you see and you can hear the terrorists screaming and shooting at each of the porta potties, knowing that there are kids trying to protect themselves inside. And then all of a sudden the video stops.
Right.
And then you see the aftermath. I won't share that with you. We also went to the religious sites, the Wailing Wall. You go through it, and Jerusalem. And there was a quick story. You guys will appreciate this. I'm walking through Old Jerusalem with a group, and all of a sudden I hear Leonard Cohen's Suzanne.
Oh, you're kidding.
Coming from a cafe.
Yeah.
And okay, this is a Montreal moment right here and there, right? Montreal's most famous Jew.
Yeah.
Gift to music and poetry. And so I break away from the crowd and I go over, and this really nice Israeli man comes out and says to me, "You want a coffee?" I'm like, "No, I'm loving this music. I'm from Montreal." And he said to me, "Leonard Cohen was a great man." And it was kind of like my Montreal moment in Israel. So I lived the highs of that.
Yeah.
Of being welcomed, of feeling connected. Mm-hmm. And I hit a lot of lows that I'll spare you the rest. But it resonated with me because it's living history. And despite all of that, despite that the so-called ceasefire was in effect until that day, Israel is now the aggressor, trying to protect the right for it to exist, when every other country in the world has the right to exist. Why doesn't Israel?
Right.
I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just sharing my thoughts so you understand why I feel the way that I do.
And you met Raquel and Alain
Yes,
Luc
that was here
just a couple nights ago,
Yeah.
and this is connecting the dots. You
Correct.
stood.
Their son Alex.
You stood
Yeah.
there where Alex.
You were there at
Alex
the
was.
bomb shelter.
I was where
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
lost his
That
life, where
must-
he protected his.
Yes.
He
Right.
threw the grenades
Yes.
out. He protected
I mean, what a
young
remarkable
girls.
story,
He was
yeah.
on the phone with his
With his
mom.
mom.
This must be uber emotional for you to connect these dots and
Yeah.
to meet the people
Yeah.
of the places where you stood. You described the IDF as real-time fact-checking. So what did you witness?
I took a lot of heat for that. Well, I think
You're taking a lot of heat for a lot of things.
right, but
Yeah.
to write in print that the IDF does real time fact checking, they are fighting a propaganda war as much as they are an actual war, and it's because the enemy is such good at propaganda.
So good.
And so embedded in journalism itself. And don't get me wrong, I say this because of the experience I had there. There are a lot of Israelis who want peace, who want the hostages home, and ultimately want Netanyahu gone. But that's not number one priority right now.
No.
It's survival.
Yeah.
So for me, when I was with the IDF, and as the numbers were coming in, and I met with the IDF officials, and how the measures they take in planning the attacks to find the members of Hamas and to rescue the hostages, they're constantly seen as or charged with war crimes. And I've heard this before, so it's not my only thought. I think it's true of many folks. If Israel wanted to end it tomorrow, they could. They really could.
Yeah.
Some say they should have done it on October 8th. And then all this pushback they're facing now would have, happened fast, and we would have dealt with it by now. We are where we are. And when I saw the IDF playing, balancing act here, it says, look, we have no reason to share this information with you other than we want the facts out there. They really don't need my approval.
No.
But they want the truth as they see it. There's the accreditation. To be told to, and that's why I called it real-time fact-checking, because they're fighting the propaganda war.
I noticed personally that since you got back from Israel, your advocacy has leveled up. Can you tell us a little bit about
National
that?
Post,
Yeah.
Because I saw it before, but I feel like you're so much more passionate about.
I am.
Yeah.
And there's a theme there because I'm no longer in Israel. It educated me deeply about what is happening there, but more importantly, seeing the fallout here. And that's why I stand up for things like, why is it the Concordia Handbook allows these things, printed by the university itself, allows it to be printed? How is it that people who live at Green and St. Catherine, or St. Catherine and Wood in Westmount Square, number 1 Wood, have to face this every Friday
day.
night?
And every day.
But Friday nights they were targeting for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Jewish families get together. And more importantly as well, it's not just that their businesses are suffering. Their restaurants, people are canceling every week. Right. How is it that protests, which in a democracy you're allowed, that threaten people, because there are seniors who live in these buildings who try to go to 5 Saisons for their groceries, and they need escorts to get across the street. They're so intimidated. That's wrong. I would say, well, where are the police? They say they act on complaints. I would like to think that they're doing all they can, but I'd like to know if they can do more.
And you've wrote about this in the Gazette. You had an excellent piece there,
Excellent.
Which is more than reporting. It's really getting to the heart of the story. You're not a journalist per se. Let's go
No,
beyond. Let's,
I'm an editorialist now. I opinions.
So-
I want to tell one more real quick story. The Hasidic man with his daughter in Park Extension,
Yes.
who was
Horrible,
attacked.
Daughters.
Right?
Yeah,
You're right.
daughters,
They
yeah.
they witnessed it.
Yeah.
And I called out Valerie Plante because she put out a tweet. And I base my call out saying you should have been there. Optics matter here. You need to get on the scene and say, we will not allow anyone, Jewish or otherwise, to be attacked in this way. And we will get to the bottom of it and we will track them down. It's something that's done very well by mayors in Toronto, has done that in the past. And more importantly, when I time in New York City, I saw Rudy Giuliani, a different Rudy Giuliani, back then, clean up the streets and more importantly, get the confidence of New Yorkers back. We don't have that confidence.
None.
The Jewish community, even less so right now in Montreal. We don't feel safe. Even though the numbers tell us we're safe, optics matter. And so I called her out and said a tweet is not enough when there's hate involved.
Well, we are going into election period. We won't get political on this podcast, but there's the opportunity for citizens to step forward and to speak up. Of course, most of the Jewish community doesn't live in the city of Montreal, and that's a problem. You're talking about
But they're impacted by Montreal.
Well, you're talking about Westmount, but it is impacted because it's the Montreal Police.
You're 2 blocks away from Montreal.
It's the Montreal Police Service. It's an agglomeration service that provides the services everywhere, and there's this political quagmire of how to tiptoe around all this to get.
Tiptoe should not even part of the equation.
It shouldn't be.
No.
You move in and you say, guys, do you have a permit? No. If you have a permit, yes, perfect. Well, here are the
rules.
Yeah.
There's a reason you get a permit.
Correct.
Because there's rules.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
And many people say that we don't need more laws. We need to enforce the laws that already exist. And that's a problem. And you've called that out.
I have. As I have with street prayer, when it's intimidating. The ones they were doing every week in front of the Notre Dame. Again, that wasn't aimed at the Jewish community. It was aimed at the Christian community. Right. Just as bad. You do not.
Of course.
You know,
and they couldn't do it in front of synagogues because we have guards.
And And they block the streets of Montreal. Look, you have the right to pray no matter who you are, but when it becomes a protest or anywhere close to a protest, well, that's what I'm referring to. It can't be done. Yeah. And so absolutely, you have a right. But when you abuse that right, the reins have to be pulled in.
You told us about your history personally, professionally. How has this impacted you spiritually? You don't come off as a spiritual kind of guy, but
I think he comes off as a spiritual kind of guy. So, having known him, I'm seeing a spiritual awakening.
Yeah, well, I think it's always been there. I just have not because as a journalist, you're not supposed to be the story, right?
Right.
But I think that suddenly people are asking me about me, so I'm answering the question.
What a fun period in your career to speak your truth.
Well, I think it's if someone gives you a soapbox, you have to use it wisely, and that's the only reason why I'm doing this is because I can't stand back and watch what happens to my friends,
to your family,
to my family, and I would hope I would do to anybody. And it's true, we got to stand up for what's right, especially more now than ever. I mean, let's not talk about the murder of Mr. Kirk yesterday, but that's going to further spiral us in the wrong direction. Downwards.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're making generations of Roberts feel very proud about the work that you're doing.
Thanks, Lynn.
What comes next for you?
Stay tuned.
Okay. How exciting that is.
I think he's going to come and co-host our podcast.
I'll come back anytime. I don't need to co-host. You guys are great at it. So,
what do you think should be next for Canadian journalists? They're not stepping up, as you said, to the extent that you would like to see. What should happen?
Go back to the beginning and do your job the way you were trained, without influence, with lots of fact checking, and if you get the chance to go to where the news is happening, as I did, it'll make you a richer, not only journalist but a human being.
And I just want to add one thing. I do think, as a journalist looking at this, what concerns me, and I'm sure you see this, obviously the same thing, is that there are a lot of journalists. First of all, the cuts, certainly in Canada, make journalists have to do so much in less time.
Yeah.
You don't have time to get the context. You don't have time to get the extra interview.
Yeah.
And most of the kids coming in don't have history.
So another family story, my daughter, who we've talked about, is at CTV Montreal. She is a part-time weather forecaster, part-time storyteller. Yep. She, to your point, Paula, back in our day, we had a cameraman. Back at the beginning, we had an audio guy. We had an editor.
Right.
She now shoots it. She writes it. She cuts it.
Right.
and then she sends it in. So
And
she's
how do you have
4 for
time
1.
to do
the
you know,
fact checking?
To do the fact checking.
Yeah. So especially with deadlines.
Yeah.
So you're right. The industry is also part of the problem,
Yeah.
but it's the nature of the beast. It's a business after all.
Your daughter was recently featured on Mike Cohn's Instagram. I think you did an interview with her. Shout out to
Let's
Mike.
give a shout out to that.
Yeah. Mike's a big fan of the Roberts, so I'm a big fan of Mike Cohn.
And we're a big fan of Mike Cohn.
Well, in wrapping up, I know that the Montreal Jewish community would like to give you a very big communal hug for the work that you're doing.
Yeah. I got so many people saying to me, "You're seeing Leslie Roberts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tell him thank you." So I'm saying thank you from at least 100 people.
So if you don't hear it often or enough,
I do.
we're going to amplify that because we do hear it. And you have an idea, but you can't imagine how important it is and how much it affects the community because we need more Leslies. We need more people to stand up and to speak up, and it is so appreciated.
Yeah.
And I'll pass the news on to my brother, Rob, who when
Yes.
he took over the editorial helm, editor-in-chief of National Post, he's in charge.
Yeah.
He purposely decided to lean in to Israel.
That's fantastic.
By the way, his daughter just got converted. She,
Oh my gosh.
I know. She was at the mikveh 3 weeks ago
No
in New York
kidding.
City. Yeah. So it's all
What
over
is
the
going
place.
on in the Roberts gene? Do a DNA check,
Well, that's a whole other story because I believe somewhere
come back
back
for that.
there-
You'll come back for that one.
Several lives ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Amazing.
But, I hope there are more people that you'll be able to express and share that feeling with because I'm one of many who want to stand up. Some have not purposely done so vocally, but at the same time, I think they may do in their own way. So you're not alone.
Yeah. And you make us feel that way. So thank you so much, Leslie. And thank you for coming in and having this chat with us.
And where can our watchers and listeners follow you? I mean, you're in the Gazette, you're in the National Post.
Yeah, that's it for now. I'm
And
on
your social
Twitter,
media, your social
Mr.
media.
Leslie Roberts.
Mr. Leslie Roberts on Twitter.
Because of my name, I put Mr. first.
Okay. Great to see you again.
Pleasure. Thanks,
do
friends.
come back again.
Anytime.
And keep up the amazing work.
You as well.
Yeah,
Great to see you
I'm
again,
very
Leslie.
impressed by your setup here and what you do for the Jewish community. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Paula, each summer, Israeli children affected by war and terrorism come to Montreal through the Israel Victims of War program, IVOW, as it's called. It's hosted by Federation CJA and by the Montreal Jewish sleepaway camps up north. And you've put together a report on that as well.
Yes, I was at the event. They came here into the Federation building for breakfast, and I got to meet some of them and put together this report.
240 Israeli teens, all tragically impacted by October 7th, wrapped up their time at a camp in the Laurentians at a special Federation CJA breakfast in their honor.
Unfortunately, nothing that we can do here in Montreal or Canada can bring back those lives that have been lost since October 7th. But what I can tell you is that you're sitting in the heart of the Montreal Jewish community, a community that is exceptionally Zionist.
Each of the teens here has lost a loved one. Every one of their stories poignant, heartbreaking, and unfathomable. Like Sharon Idan, whose family home was invaded by Hamas.
Murdered my sister, my older sister, and kidnapped my father. And after 510 days, in the hostage deal, the second one, they brought his body back.
Or Gali Horn. Both her uncles were kidnapped by Hamas. One, Yair, came home 498 days later. The other, Itan, is still in captivity in the dark tunnels of Gaza with barely any food and no medication.
And I miss him so much, and I deserve to have fun and sing karaoke with him again, the same way that kids supposed to play with their uncle.
The teens came from all parts of Israel to spend a few weeks at Jewish summer camps in the Laurentians, thanks to a collaboration between Federation CJA and IVOW.
Having an amazing time, which is what exactly they need, considering what so many of them have gone through and are still going through.
From iconic moments on a Canadian lake to bringing out their inner performer, this was a life-changing trip for all.
These kids have been through so much trauma, loss, and sadness. the idea that they were able to come here and to have a moment of respite is so worthwhile.
Wrapped by the love of our community, they ended their stay here with joy, new friendships, and a feeling that they'd found a second home. And for a brief moment in time, these Israeli teenagers were able to find what was stolen from them on October 7th, their lightness, their laughter, and an inalienable right to just be teenagers. For Federation CJA, I'm Paula Samuel in the Gelber Center.
Karen Payne, strategic advisor on anti-Semitism, joins us now for our second segment called Hot Topics. Karen, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you. We have, a lot of stuff going on to talk about. A lot of people are talking. And what we want to touch on this segment is a professor at McGill. Tell us about all the controversy surrounding him.
Yeah, so there's always a lot going on in our city, unfortunately. And I know that often we're reading about things in the news that are related to anti-Semitism. So today what I wanted to talk about was a recent tweet made by a McGill professor by the name of William Clare Roberts, where he publicly tweeted the following: "I used to think BDS was a good idea. I've come around, though. Nothing short of full economic and military support for Hamas and Hezbollah is appropriate." So, that's really taking things up a notch. For those of you who don't know, BDS is like a boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, which has been very prevalent against Israel, of course, which has been very prevalent on campuses and around the world in any capacity by unions, etc. And I think this is really taking things to another level and inciting not only violence, but promoting the activities of two Canadian designated terrorist organizations. And I think that's really what's of most concern here, is to what standard are we going to be holding citizens, and not only citizens, but professors in a school institution setting for making statements like this.
And it didn't go unnoticed. I mean, this hit the newspapers. There was a huge reaction. It's not like it went under the carpet. It was there was a massive outcry about it.
Yes, there's been a lot of outrage about it, not just by Jewish groups, thankfully. Essentially, McGill is aware, and they have indicated to different news sources that they are aware. Our team at Federation CJA, together with our advocacy agent of CJA, has filed a complaint and essentially has sent a letter to President Deep Saini at McGill University outlining our outrage and our asks. Now, we have a very strong campus advocacy team here at Federation led by Judy Kramer. She's the director of our campus advocacy, and she deals with these types of issues amongst many others that are flowing through campus. And this issue really has a lot of facets, like I said, because there's a potential criminal component. I know Anthony Housefather has also been vocal about this incident and trying to reach out to the RCMP, to the McGill community, and to the community at large, because this is a very problematic, a problematic tweet. We can't have professors like this. It's one thing, to protect free speech and your opinions, and he's obviously a political science teacher, and, he wrote a book on political theory, and he has a book on his Marxist research, so we know where his political leanings are, and I think to a certain extent, of course, that's understandable and very acceptable in a institution and in a faculty setting, but there has to be a line that we draw and we hold firm. And McGill has not yet come out with its response to this professor. He has been, the professor himself has responded to the Gazette in an email very boldly saying, "I stand by this statement. I think we need to change Canadian policy on these entities being considered terrorists. And this is not the business of my employer. These are my political views." So I think he has very boldly stated that he's very comfortable making these statements. I think as a society, we need to start setting our boundaries more firmly, more clearly, and showing what behavior will not be tolerated. First and foremost, the police need to respond, and we're really waiting for McGill's response and what they will do with the situation.
And there's been nothing at all, right, from McGill?
They have been silent.
Yeah.
We know they are aware.
I believe McGill said that they distanced themselves by saying that professors don't speak on behalf of the university.
Yes.
And they speak freely.
Yes, right. You are right that they did say that the professors do not purport to represent the views of the institution when they speak in their own name on a personal basis. I think it becomes, again, a very fine line with, as an employee of an institution, what you represent, in a public setting versus a private setting, in a classroom setting. I think that there's a lot of blurring that's been going on. Look, I think that there's a lot of, difficult issues to address, and I think that that's why McGill has been probably reluctant to come out strongly on this, and they're really probably, taking this seriously and discussing amongst their community what the right position to take is for them. But we're waiting, and silence, I think one of the things that people forget, silence is a statement. That by not saying anything, by not making a statement, a decision, you're technically making a statement.
Right.
And we can't rest on that.
Have we heard any statements from political leadership or other people in positions of leadership?
To my knowledge, Anthony Housefather has been very vocal about this, and of course has been, calling to task the McGill community, the RCMP, et cetera, like I said before, because he's really looking for some sort of consequences in something like this.
So just, one comment as we wrap this up is that why we decided to pick this and why we call it's part of Hot Topics is because he's just representative of a lot of similar things that are going on in universities across North America that we know of, that you have professors that are making these kinds of statements. And I think it gets a lot of people talking, and it gets a lot of people,
Yeah, and I think it also emboldens students and community members at large to behave in a certain way and set standards when a person in a position of authority behaves in such a manner. And I think it's just generally setting a standard for a normalization of hate, terror, and we need to go back to a time of civil discourse and a civilization where where we really uphold certain values and standards. And I think we've moved too far away from that.
All right, Karen, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Sign up for Federation CJA urgent community alerts through WhatsApp to receive urgent, accurate information on security issues. Find out how to keep safe through timely messages on breaking developments. If you're on WhatsApp, you can be among the first to find out. Sign up at federationcja.org/urgent alert.
Inscrivez-vous au message d'alerte d'urgence pour la communauté de la Fédération CJA sur WhatsApp pour recevoir de l'information précise sur des enjeux de sécurité nécessitant une intervention immédiate. Apprenez à assurer votre sécurité grâce à des messages pertinents sur les dossiers d'actualité. Si vous êtes sur WhatsApp, vous pourriez être parmi les premiers à être mis au courant. Inscrivez-vous à fédérationcja.org/alerte urgente.
This is a safety reminder from Federation CJA. Your vigilance helps keep our community safe. If you see something, say something. In an emergency, call 911 immediately. When it is safe to do so, report incidents on the Community Security Hotline at 514-343-4343. Or use our online form at federationcja.org, where you can also upload photos or videos related to an incident. Your contribution helps us gather critical information that strengthens our collective safety. Stay aware, stay engaged, stay safe.
Ceci est un rappel de sécurité de la Fédération CJA. Si vous voyez quelque chose, dites-le. En cas d'urgence, composez immédiatement le 911 et signalez tout incident à la police puis au réseau de sécurité communautaire au 514-343-4343 ou visitez fédérationcja.org pour signaler un incident en ligne. Votre vigilance contribue à la sécurité de notre communauté.
A regular reporter, roving reporter, and suburban reporter, Dan Laxer, joins us back in studio now. Dan, welcome. Last time you were sitting in for Paola. Now you're back in the journalist seat.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Terrific. So you're following up on a number of Jewish community stories in the suburban newspaper. Let's hear what you're following.
Yeah. One of the stories I'm following, and I know you spoke with Leslie Roberts about this, is the story of the Concordia Student Union, the CSU. Put the cover of their, and not just the cover, inside their handbook.
All over the handbook.
All there you go, all over the handbook. With the Free Palestine, the End Genocide, et cetera, et cetera. So we covered that in the Suburban. It's going to be in next week's edition on the 17th. And the way I wrote about it, I thought, what a difference 4 years makes, because I don't know if you remember, but in 2021, the CSU issued an apology to the Jewish community.
I don't remember that.
I remember it well
I don't remember
because
that,
my
yeah.
daughter was
Right.
On the CSU, and she's the one who advocated to get that apology
So
in the first
remind
place.
us what the apology was about.
So it was a lengthy apology that they posted on social media and elsewhere, I imagine, because it's Concordia University. So there was all kinds of anti-Semitic caca going on at the time. And they issued an apology basically saying sorry for not being there for the Jewish community, for not highlighting the anti-Semitism, for not doing anything about it, and even going beyond that and saying our inaction even fomented the anti-Semitism.
Wow. Okay, I don't remember this at all.
And as a former Concordia, I was in Concordia in the 90s, and there were all these problems with anti-Semitism, whether it was the Palestinian Student Association or the Muslim Students Association. When they had displays on the mezzanine, it was always a problem. But there they were 4 years ago issuing this fantastic apology. Fast forward to now with this horrendous cover, and not just the cover, but as you point out, inside and everywhere throughout the handbook. And I reached out to the Concordia Students Union. Of course, they did not get back to me. They did direct me to, I can't remember the person's name who's responsible for the department that puts out the handbook. They did not get back to me by the time deadline hit. And I did reach out to the university because, as you would imagine, these are, whether it's the Concordia Students Union or any on-campus club, they represent the university, whether the university wants to accept that or not.
Right.
So they sent me an email basically saying that they're an independent organization, there's nothing to do with the university, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of pushed a little bit and said, well, will you go ahead and distance yourself from the CSU? And she said, that's what I just did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it.
I actually, so because Leslie Roberts, we had his interview earlier in the podcast, he brought the book. Not only is it all inside, but there are tips in there on how to hide your identity when you're demonstrating.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes beyond just putting a picture. There's actual instructions on how to do demonstrations, how to not get caught. I can't, how many lines could they have they crossed with this handbook?
Yeah. They will cross as many lines as possible. And, I don't know that this is my own opinion, but comparing universities, Concordia has always been the more, seemed to me, left-leaning of the two. By the two, I mean McGill and Concordia and McGill. They've always been the more left-leaning of the two. There's always been a lot more activism, a lot more protest going back to the 1960s, whether it's been equality of the genders, whether it's been racism, but anti-Semitism has always been a gigantic problem, particularly at Concordia.
Yeah.
So this is what you're seeing.
Have you had any other responses from community leaders? I asked the same question of Leslie just a little while ago. What did you hear back from anybody else that spoke out against what you witnessed?
Well, as soon as the community learned about this handbook, Federation CJA posted a statement online and basically saying Concordia students deserve better than this.
Yeah.
And they absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for following that story. You have other stories as well in the Suburban that you're following that cover a Jewish community. You'll come back and share those with us
it would be
on
my
future
pleasure.
episodes. Thanks for coming in, Dan.
Thanks so much, Dan. Le chanteur Yair Riba m'a accordé une entrevue la semaine passée. Il avait quelques mots à partager avec notre communauté.
Pour moi, c'est une route. C'est un mérite d'arriver ici et de chanter avec ce public, qui est là avec toute la communauté juive, israélienne et juive de Montréal. Et ça fait du bien de voir aussi qu'il y a du soleil à Montréal parce qu'il paraît qu'il neige tout le temps. Alors Baruch Hashem, et j'attends vraiment ce concert, et aussi dehors, c'est quelque chose, ça me rappelle un peu des concerts à l'été en Israël.
C'est quoi le message que vous voulez donner?
Alors moi je suis aussi pour chanter et aussi pour donner du courage, encourager les gens. Ouais, mais j'ai entendu qu'il y a une communauté très, très chaude et il y a beaucoup de Marocains, moi aussi mes parents viennent du Maroc. C'est beau de voir ce face de tous les gens, des Juifs qui sont réunis pour un événement, un concert ou quelque chose que en Israël c'est plus courant parce parce que c'est notre pays. Je pensais, voilà, c'est important de voir ce public et de donner un peu le chizouk, la simcha, et de partager avec les musiciens le sentiment d'Israël. Et chacun peut chanter. Il y en a des gens qui peuvent même pleurer pour soulager et prier pour la situation en Israël, pour les Chayalim, les Khatoufim. Alors je pense que c'est quelque chose qui est très, très important dans les Juifs, ils sont plus conscients qu'ils sont obligés d'être unis ensemble et qu'on a un rôle dans ce monde, mon groupe. Mais je pense qu'il y aura une belle soirée, Bezrat Hashem. Allez, à bientôt.
It's once again back to school, which means fall is upon us soon, and the days are going to get shorter. It also means that the Jewish holidays are just around the corner, and we look forward to celebrating with family. Back to school also means that our universities and CJEPs are going back and are, again, our students are being faced with the ongoing, what I call anti-Semitism, anti-Israel, but it's really anti-Semitism, confronted by the pro-Hamas groups that are demonstrating and really having to deal with all kinds of unacceptable behavior on campus. What's most interesting is that I think that our students have become much more resilient to what's happening. And I think that is a very good byproduct, if you would. A silver lining, not that I'm looking for a silver lining in the world of hate, but I think that the resilience of our student is something that I would like to really highlight for our community. We have a new director of engagement at Hillel, Yoni Troy, actually the son of Gil Troy, who I've worked with for over 23 years closely, and a good friend. And I have actually a picture of Yoni and I in 2003 sitting on my desk. He was probably under 10 years old, and I was a lot younger. But Yoni's here back in Montreal and working at Hillel, trying to engage our students in Jewish life, reminding us that our resilience comes from our own definition of who we are as Jews. I had the opportunity to interview Dan Sinor recently in an event that we were holding, and I asked Dan, what is so important at this time for us to combat anti-Semitism? What is going to be that moment that we're going to be able to say, okay, we're strong enough? And he referred back to his lecture at the 92nd Street Y in New York, and he talked about how you can't let those who hate us define us. We must define who we are ourselves. And I think that's the moment that we are in today. We're in that moment where we need to double down on our identity. We need to double down on our Jewish education and our summer camps and shaping our Jewish future so that we're strong and resilient, because that's what's carried us through history. They've hated us for 3,000 years, and we have not only survived but thrived. I often say, and not to a little bit of controversy, that it's never been better in our history to be Jewish. We have more rights and freedoms. We've got a state of Israel, and we're a success story in spite of everything that's happening. So as we open this new year, as we go about our family business and reuniting with family for Rosh Hashanah, I want to first and foremost give a big shout out to our university students on campuses and on CJEPs that are fighting the great fight on behalf of the Jewish people. They're doing such an incredible job. And please, look up Yoni. He's at the Hillel House every day. Go see him, and we're there to help support and really be the backbone of your the backing of your efforts each and every day. And to our community, to wish you a Shana Tova, and to look forward and say, there's a saying in Hebrew, Gamze Yavo, this too shall pass. Sometimes we have to think about that when we say it in good times, and good times pass too. But even in these dark times that we see today, these times shall pass as well, and we will again be a nation that is a light upon other nations. The beginning of the school year also represents an important, special time in the Federation calendar, if you would. It's the launch of our campaign, and we launched our 2025 campaign with the Shuk in the park, and it was just an incredible, powerful moment of the Jewish community gathering together, over 6,000 of us coming to celebrate Jewish life. And I take a moment to reflect that we're over 700 days since Hamas executed its most brutal attack, began this war against the state of Israel, against our brothers and sisters. We shall never forget the fact that we still have 48 hostages being held in tunnels by Hamas, and they must come home. They must come home soon, and they must come home to their families. And on the launch of campaign, I thought the highlight for me, outside of seeing everybody together, outside of the incredible familial feeling that park had, where everyone was just celebrating Jewish life, the moment that the drones made the ribbon that is our reminder of the hostages over the skies of Hampstead, which could probably be seen throughout Montreal. And in my mind is still that image of that ribbon in the sky, a testament to our resilience as a people, and to us as a Montreal Jewish community that will never forget, that is always supportive, and that is yearning to see our family back home in Israel. So as we go on to the new year, we think of all these important elements of what has been a journey of 2 years that has been difficult and yet very, very important in Jewish history. So I wish everyone a Shana Tova, a Gmar Chatima Tova, and I look forward to hearing from you in the next podcast.
We want to take this opportunity to wish all our viewers and listeners a very happy New Year. Shana Tova u'mituka.
Shana Tova et bonne année.
Technical production by Bruno Vargas. Podcast reporters are Jordan Stupler and Dan Laxer.
Contribution by Hillary Cohen on social media, and I'm Paula Samuel.
For the Federation CJA 360 podcast, I'm Glenn J. Nashin.
Thanks for listening. To find out more about the work we do at Federation CJA, the impact we have on the Montreal Jewish community in Israel and around the world, visit us at federationcja.org, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Until next time, Shalom.